We complete the election with the turnout almost 74.
More women went to vote than men.
That was the election for women, about women, and women win this election.
Today, a single vote counts. Every single vote.
Of course.
The whole business scene has been extremely spoiled by the fact of not taking consequences for their actions. We have a huge obligation. We have a huge obligation to give back, and give back more than we were given. To whom much is given, much is expected.
More of the society could embrace becoming whole. Is that the most difficult?
This is definitely the most difficult one.
The anthem of the European Union is based on the poem done by Friedrich von Schiller, and the title is Ode to Joy. Okay? So we live on a continent that for which we are in an ecosystem that has been framed around celebrating joy.
There is hope. And joy is the ultimate destination, but also a place of responsibility.
Welcome to part 2 of the conversation with Marcin and Aleksandra Petrykowski.
I wanted to build on, move to the point on, move to your campaign for the women's vote. I remember filming it with you.
Yeah.
I was one of the...
You took very important role in the campaign.
what was my role? I was the
You were
director.
producer. And
I was the creative, okay.
director. You had many roles.
I will not take credit for your work, your passion. I was just there to hold space and to share my experience. But it was a phenomenal turnout.
Phenomenal. We started with the with 50% of the level of the woman as a turnout for women. 50%, 53 to be precise. And we complete the election.
That was the baseline. So your starting point was 53. Okay.
We complete the election with the turnout almost 74.
Wow.
So
Actually, more women went to vote than men, ultimately.
Amazing.
That was the result.
Yeah, definitely. That was the election for women, about women, and women win this election. Yes. So everything is about women.
But also just the fact that if you desire change, you need to get out to vote, no matter your age, your gender.
Yeah.
You just need to get out and vote.
Yeah,
and
it's a huge privilege. It's this again
going back to freedom.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and as well coming back to the human rights.
Yes.
Right to vote. It's the very fundamental. We have so many countries where women cannot vote. Yes. And so definitely, we should use this privilege, yes. And what is very important that, what was the most popular opinion from the women on the base of which they were refusing to vote, yes, that they were just saying, okay, my vote doesn't really matter. It's just one vote. What will change one vote, yes. So that was one argument, and very, very often, even in my environment, I remember that 1 week before election, I called to a very good friend of mine, I would say the best real estate lawyer in Poland, and she was like, I don't go, I will not vote, I have nobody for whom I would be able to vote, I don't care about politics. And I was like, what? Politics is your life.
For full disclosure, I mean, I'm Polish by birth. I'm proud to be Polish, and I voted inspired by you in London.
Oh, but
and
still,
I called you up, not even knowing who do I vote for, right? But the fact that I need to cast my vote.
Yeah, but still, okay. But I believe that even if you would not met me before, you would vote. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I believe so.
But this. I mean, you did filming the campaign with you. I felt even more inspired, and I felt the responsibility and accountability for the future resting in my vote. And today, a single vote counts. Every single vote counts.
Of course, every single vote counts. And what is important that we cannot escape from the concept of politics, because politics is obviously everything. It's our taxes, it's our, medical security, it's our clean air, it's everything. So we cannot escape from that concept, yes. And what is very important, just to close because I feel that my husband would like to add something. So just to close that topic, so what was amazing with our campaign was that we founded that campaign with the zero budget. Zero. And definitely we founded the biggest social pro-turnout apolitical campaign in this country. We reached to every third Polish woman. Wow. We had in media 200 million impression in media. Can you imagine? 200 million.
I wanted to explore joy in the domain of business, Polish business. I have been coming to speak in Poland and with it explore where the country is in its own evolution. And I'm an ardent advocate of design as a method, human-centered design as a method of evolving business. The story has changed over the years. Because I think the first time I was here in 2017. People looked at me like a Christmas tree. What's your take on joy as a mindset change?
So I think to circle back a bit of what we already discussed, I'm a great believer in something that I learned very early in my career. It's actually interesting because this was a statement that I learned from someone knowledgeable that I used to work with, never realizing, only recently realizing that it's one of the most ancient, historically stated phrases ever. Because me not being really religious, actually found out that it comes directly from the Bible, and it was actually said by Jesus to his team at the time. So I started my career at Citibank, and I had the privilege to work for, in my humble view, one of the most impactful leaders I've ever met. A gentleman who sadly passed away a few years back. His name was Sunil Srinivasan, and at the time he was the country officer for Poland. Prior to that, he was in Malaysia, Singapore. An extremely elegant, refined, intelligent human being and leader. And the thing he taught us very early when we joined the team, being part of some kind of a leadership program, he was always saying, to whom much is given, much is expected. Yeah, to whom much is given, much is expected. If you actually look it up, this is a statement that actually is I would say, a paraphrase of, as I said, the Bible, where in the Holy Book, it said that exactly that way, yeah? But if you put it on the business front, and if you put it more into...
And in Buddhism as well, because it's collecting karma, actually.
As I said, it's an ancient way of looking at the world. But if you put it back into, more of a business setting and what Ola was talking about, that's effectively it, yeah? If you're blessed with some skills, the more skills you have, the more talents you display, the more you have been fortunate in life, the more your responsibility, obligation to give back. Yeah, and I think for business, that is exactly it. Yeah, and I think this ties in very nicely with ESG. It ties in nicely with sustainability, and ties in very nicely with impact investing, and it ties in very nicely with, regenerative business concepts, yeah? The whole business scene has been extremely spoiled by the fact of not taking consequences for their actions back in the days. We had an economy which was built on the notion of exploiting resources, exploiting talent. And I think we're seeing now this whole notion of, to whom much is given, much is expected, that we see businesses realizing that because they've been fortunate and they take advantage of a good economy, of a more or less, stable environment, they need to give back. Yeah, they need to give back. And I think, we're seeing that transition. And today it's less of an organizational level. It's more on the leadership level. We are seeing leaders that are actually starting to walk the talk. Yeah, it's all called, responsible leadership. And I'm a big advocate of that. I'm a big believer in that. That's why I love mentorship. That's why I love, giving back on a micro level. Because in a way, the fact that I am where I am is a function of also people through my career, as Sunil giving something to me. So I think, we have a huge obligation. We have a huge obligation to give back and give back more than we were given. And that builds, that further builds and creates an environment which is self-propelling. It actually stimulates growth.
Yep.
But also, for many leaders, at a certain point in life, you're not able to extract satisfaction from just doing business. Like, it's just not enough. It's just not enough. Like, you need to move to a higher state of rewarding yourself and gaining satisfaction.
Yep.
And that's where, this whole notion of giving back even further enhances the well-being of a leader and the joy of the leader.
Yes.
So we're going back to joy.
You've really taken the definition out of my book.
Which I haven't read, by the way.
It's coming out next year. What you touch on is so close to my heart. And it's taken me years to explore. And what I mean by explore, not just live it, but also scientifically prove it. Bringing the perspective of how it works in business. More of the society could embrace becoming whole, but by becoming whole, understanding the responsibility of then making others whole.
Yeah.
As you say, as a function of you becoming whole and being gifted all these opportunities.
And also generating joy. I think, that's where you gain a lot of satisfaction from. Yeah, that's how you're able to joy. That's effectively it. Yeah, that's the way you are.
Feel joy and give joy. Of
Yeah.
course, yes, it works.
And how do you replenish yourselves? Because you're so busy, you're so passionate about giving back. Not just giving back, but just inspiring by pure nature.
Impact. I would say impacting, right? Making an impact. Yeah, because there are different ways how you make an impact. Yeah, you can make an impact in business. You can make an impact in mentorship. You can make an impact in, I don't know, networking. Yeah.
And you've integrated this beautifully into your life's journeys.
But sometimes
It's self-care, right? Yeah. What is that sort of? How do you practice self-care?
this is so.
Is that the most difficult?
This is definitely the most difficult one. When you are mixing and combining like all the phases of like being. In my case, like being a lawyer, because I'm the PhD candidate as well. I'm a mother, which is like the most important role of my life. And then like it's the mentorship as well, which I do, and the refugees and like
Where do you find
self-care
time for
is
yourself? Yeah. And how do you feel about finding time for yourself?
How do I feel?
Yes, how do you feel?
How do I feel? I definitely think, not feel, that this is very important. However, like practically, it's so difficult. But I do self-care. At least I'm trying to proceed with self-care.
For me, it's kids. Seriously, like I think that's
okay. Kids, of course, it's like the fundamental. Like
no, but I don't mean fundamental. I mean, like, because your question is more like how do you rejuvenate yourself from like all
How
of
do
the
you
commotion?
recharge? How do you?
Okay, I do yoga. I do
daily commotion.
meditation.
No, for me, it's spending time with the kids. By far, I think that's
it helps
what
you reset.
Yeah, that resets me, and that gives me a feeling that there's actually something bigger rather than just the daily rat race, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. How do you teach them joy?
They teach us joy, Martin. That's it. They teach us joy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the essence here.
Yeah.
I'm not able to teach them joy because they're far greater at it than I am. Yeah, that's the beauty of kids. They are not yet limited by the social constraints. Hence, it goes back to my point.
Boundless,
Hence, it goes back to my point. Yeah, that's the reset button, because they teach you how to be a better version of yourself.
So let's take this now into a less familiar territory. In closing, I always like to ask all my guests, if you were to meet yourself here and now, you walk out of this studio and you see yourself, Ola, at the age of 21, and you, Marcin, at the age of 21. What would you, what would you, not necessarily even tell, what message would you want to share with them?
Okay, so because you don't know what kind of person you will be in 5 years, in 20 years. So it's important to be open, and it's important to learn, consciously learn and observe everything. So that's my...
Beautiful. Marcin, what about you?
Similar. Take more risk.
Take more risk.
Calculated risk, but be more bold. Yeah, be more bold in life. Take more risk. So I'm not sure whether you ever had a chance to go through the anthem of the European Union. The anthem of the European Union, believe it or not, it is effectively, the music is based on the Ninth Symphony composed by Ludwig van Beethoven. So the anthem of the European Union is based on the poem done by Friedrich von Schiller, and the title is Ode to Joy. Okay? So we live on a continent that for which the anthem, the overarching theme, is Ode to Joy. Okay? So we are in an ecosystem that has been framed around celebrating joy. Point one. Then, if we would take the effort to go through the words of that anthem, which I did in preparation for this great get-together, okay? So allow me to quote, which I think is a great closing to what we've just discussed. Joy, bright spark of divinity, daughter of Elysium, fire-inspired we tread the sanctuary. And then he goes further. All creatures drink of joy, at nature's breast, just and unjust, alike taste of her gift. Like, think about that. This is what our continent is all about.
Experience.
Okay, I think that's an amazing way how to frame leading with joy in the context of where we are from, what are the objectives of the framework that we operate within, and the responsibility that we have. To whom much is given, much more is expected. Therefore, we need to, day in, day out, deliver on that ode to joy. Okay, and it's in particular strong when we see what's happening within the European Union, in some countries, that there's more and more resistance towards the European Union. You don't resist joy. You don't resist the joy. You don't resist something which all creatures drink of. Okay, so I think that's the manifesto I just want our listeners to be left with, to put this into a context of a very powerful, overarching theme that our founding fathers wanted us to operate within. Yeah, and as citizens, that's why we need to vote. That's why we need to vote intelligently. And that's why we have a huge responsibility to make sure that for our kids, this will be the prevailing future.
And this beautifully ties with the theme of this new season around hope.
Exactly.
That, as we beautifully shared, there is hope. And hope can be led by joy. And joy is the ultimate destination, but also a place of responsibility.
Yeah.
And acting.
And action.
Action.
Acting and
Yeah.
responsibility. That's
Hope
true.
on a standalone basis will not manifest itself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it requires action. And in particular, in today's world, more action is what will bring us closer to delivering on the objective that we're discussing.
Thank you. Thank you for being inspiration through your everyday life. I know, Marcin, you mentioned, you alluded to joy as being that big joy with a capital J, but I'm hearing a lot of everyday little J's, little moments of joy in your life, which has been most inspiring. So thank you for being inspiration to me and the many listeners and viewers of Leading with Joy, and for really demonstrating how you can inspire for better, how you can be an agent, one of many in the collective,
Indeed,
to change the world by leading with joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.